Suji Miyamoto is the kind of person who gets way too excited while online shopping late at night. He comes across a manga series with an art style that completely wins him over, a hero he instantly connects with, and a cursed sword partner that makes the whole thing feel insanely cool. He decides right then that he has to own the entire series, adds it to the cart, and clicks purchase without actually stopping to read what exactly he is buying. The order confirmation pops up, and only then does he notice that he has somehow bought the full series bundled together with a replica sword set. He panics immediately and tries to cancel the order, but the system shuts him down and tells him it is already too late to do anything about it. He begrudgingly accepts it and tells himself that at least the manga is included, and that next time he will actually pay attention before hitting that buy button. The next morning, he wakes up disoriented, takes a second to register that it is already morning, and then remembers he had rage-napped the night before purely out of frustration over the order. He knows he is supposed to go to college, but decides to roll back over and go to sleep anyway. That plan gets cut short almost immediately because someone knocks on the door. He rushes over, already irritated about whoever is showing up this early, and swings the door open to find a delivery guy standing there with two very large and very heavy packages. The guy warns him to be careful because of the weight. Suji brings the boxes in and is genuinely caught off guard by how fast the delivery came through, because it only went through the night before. He tells himself that online shopping is terrifyingly efficient. He opens the packages and pulls out the replica sword, and his first reaction is that it looks nothing like the design shown in the product pictures. But even still, it has a presence to it that he finds undeniably cool. He starts swinging it around his room, making a point to avoid the walls, just wanting to feel what it is like. On one of the swings, a beam of light suddenly tears out from the blade. He freezes for a second, completely thrown off by what just happened, and then the floor disappears from under him. He falls through what feels like a hole in space and lands hard somewhere he does not recognize at all. When he looks up, he finds himself surrounded by soldiers in full armor, who are already staring at him and talking among themselves. The soldiers quickly come to the conclusion that the summoning ritual has worked, and that the person now standing in front of them must be the hero, with the sword in his hand, being the main piece of evidence they are going off of. Suji has absolutely no idea what any of that means or what is going on. Then a man dressed in the kind of elaborate royal clothing that only a king would wear walks in and expresses genuine surprise that the summoning completed successfully even before the full incantation had been finished. Suji looks at all of it and decides in his head that this must be some kind of elaborate cosplay event, though he still cannot figure out how he got teleported into the middle of it. He tries asking where he is, but the king keeps responding in terms of the kingdom name and the castle, which does absolutely nothing to clear things up for Suji. That is when a young woman steps into the room and addresses the king as her father. The king calls her Erica, and she calmly points out that Suji has only just arrived in this world and is clearly overwhelmed and confused. The king agrees and decides that she is better suited to handle the situation, mentioning that the hero will probably find it easier to talk to her. Erica steps forward, introduces herself as Erica Itwal, and apologizes to Suji for the sudden and disorienting summoning. Suji, who is already a little thrown off just by her presence, immediately tells her not to worry about it, and then asks more directly where exactly he is. Instead of just explaining it, she takes him to a window and lets the view speak for itself. Outside is an entire sprawling world of castles and landscapes, and a sky that looks nothing like anything from his everyday life back home. She then tells him plainly that this is not the world he came from, and that he has been summoned here specifically to save it as the hero. 3 days go by after that, and Suji has somehow settled into a surprisingly comfortable routine within the castle. He is being treated with full hero-level hospitality, given rich food, luxurious living arrangements, and people attending to his every need. He catches himself thinking that this is genuinely the best situation he has ever been in. But then, mid-sip of his morning tea, something snaps in his head and reality slams into him. He sets the cup down and reminds himself loudly that this whole situation is completely impossible and makes no sense. He has been pinching himself regularly and nothing ever changes, and no dramatic reveal has come along to prove it was all some kind of prank. The reality of being stuck in another world starts pressing down on him properly for the first time. He picks up the sword and works through it logically. The sword is what caused the tear in space back in his room, which means it might actually be a real cursed blade rather than a replica. And if that is true, then swinging it again might be enough to open another tear and send him back home. He tries it. A tear rips open just like before and he gets pulled through again. He lands somewhere new and looks around, only to realize that this is not his room either, and that he has miscalculated somewhere. He has no idea where he has ended up this time. Then a voice comes from behind him and picks up on the cursed blade comment he muttered to himself. Suji clarifies immediately that it is definitely not a holy sword, and that he is not a hero by any stretch. The voice responds that it all makes sense now, since he clearly was not the actual hero to begin with. Suji turns around fully expecting to find a stranger, and instead finds himself face to face with Erika. She explains that he fell directly into her room through the spatial tear. She asks him to sit down and tell her the whole story from the beginning, and he does exactly that. After listening to everything, Erika puts it together that the sword is what dragged him into this world entirely by accident, and that none of his arrival was intentional. She sighs heavily after coming to that conclusion, and Suji immediately picks up on the shift in her mood because the sigh is enormous and loaded. She then cuts straight to it and calls him a fake, since he is not actually the hero. Suji pushes back hard and argues that he never once claimed to be the hero, so calling him a fake does not hold up because a fake implies he was pretending. But Erika explains that his intentions are completely beside the point. The king and every single person in the castle already believes without question that he is the real hero, and the moment the truth comes out, he will be executed for having impersonated one. Suji cannot wrap his head around that being a real consequence for something he did not even do on purpose. But Erika is completely serious and does not soften it at all. She then lays out the only two options he has in front of him. He either accepts the execution as it stands, or he steps up and actually defeats the Demon King, the way everyone already believes he can. It is an impossible choice between a death he did not earn and a mission he was never meant to have, and Erika puts it to him exactly that bluntly. The idea of defeating the Demon Lord hits Suji so suddenly that his brain completely short-circuits. Erika doubles down and tells him plainly that once the Demon Lord is gone, it will not matter whether he was the real hero or a fake. Suji cannot accept that logic at all, and insists that defeating the Demon Lord is flat out impossible for someone who is not even a real hero. Erika fires back that the alternative is dying without doing anything. Suji protests that he has never been in a single fight in his entire life, and she responds that if he wants to avoid execution, then fighting is his only real option, so he needs to decide. He sits with it for a moment and starts thinking that his life back home was not exactly remarkable either, so dying without much suffering might not actually be the worst outcome. But then the manga crosses his mind. He still has not read a single chapter of the series he just bought. That one thought is somehow enough to flip the switch entirely. He shoots up with full conviction and declares that he will do it. He will defeat the Demon Lord and become a real hero. Erika confirms that it is settled, and just like that, his life as a hero officially begins. The training starts immediately and it is brutal in every sense of the word. Suji has not exercised seriously since high school, and has lived a thoroughly indoor lifestyle for years, so a month of intense physical training destroys him. He sits there during a session looking absolutely wrecked, while the other people around him check in to ask if he is all right. He insists he is fine while internally acknowledging that he is very much not fine. His trainers whisper to each other that he does not look like he is holding up well at all, but they settle themselves with the reasoning that since he was chosen by the Holy Sword, he must be capable of handling it. Right in the middle of that low point, Erika shows up at the training ground, and everyone is visibly surprised to see her there. She leans in close and quietly reminds Suji that she could expose his identity at any moment, which is all the motivation he needs. He snaps to attention immediately, and she turns to address everyone with full composure, encouraging the hero to keep pushing toward defeating the Demon Lord. Suji bolts back into the training like his life depends on it, because it genuinely does. Erika watches him go and thinks to herself that he really had better give it everything he has, for her sake, if nothing else. Alongside the physical training, Erika also takes it upon herself to teach Suji about the world he has landed in. The world is divided into East and West. The East is governed by humans, and the West is the demon realm, ruled by the demon lord who commands an army of demons and is constantly pushing into the East with the goal of total conquest. As a countermeasure, a goddess who watches over humanity summons a hero carrying the holy sword whenever things reach a breaking point. Why someone like Suji ended up being pulled into that role is something nobody can fully explain, including him. He already finds himself wanting to run from the whole situation, but Erika catches that thought before it goes anywhere and tells him his face is far too readable. He nervously denies it, and she informs him that she will be joining the journey as part of the hero's party, and that if he tries to run, She, as the strongest mage in Etoile, will personally end him. That settles it. Suji genuinely wants to understand why a princess would willingly put herself through a dangerous journey like this and asks her directly. Erika decides to be straight with him. In this kingdom, the tradition is that when a hero appears to defeat the demon lord, the princess is expected to marry that hero. Suji's reaction to that is immediate and loud. Erika shuts it down just as fast and makes it clear that she has absolutely no intention of marrying him. He points out that if he defeats the demon lord, the marriage rule would technically apply, and she acknowledges that, but also points out that since he is a fake, the rule does not really hold. If he defeats the demon lord as a fake, he avoids execution and the marriage requirement does not apply to him either, so it works out cleanly. More importantly for her, she wants to choose who she marries herself, and traveling to different places gives her the chance to find the person she actually wants. Her goal of finding her own destined partner and his goal of surviving happen to line up perfectly, which makes them natural partners for the journey. Suji acknowledges to himself that without her help, he is done for either way, and Erika wraps it up by telling him to get back to studying. A few days later, Erika calls him in and hands him a box. Inside is a set of clothing that the royal tailor put together using details from his world as a reference point. He puts it on and it fits the aesthetic of this world while still being designed for mobility, and it looks genuinely impressive. He thanks her with real enthusiasm. Erika watches him and feels a quiet but undeniable excitement creeping in, though she keeps that entirely to herself. Then a knock comes at the door and two people are shown in. Erika introduces them as the companions who will be joining the party on the journey to defeat the demon lord. The first is Arca, a warrior, and the second is Semirena Lawrence, a saint. Suji takes them both in and wonders quietly whether this group is really going to be enough to pull off something as massive as taking down the demon lord. Arca greets him directly and asks his name, and after he introduces himself and tells her to just call him Suji, she immediately points out that it does not sound very hero-like. Suji does not take that well, and Erika laughs openly while Semirena steps in to tell Arca that was rude. Arca admits it was a habit and does not seem particularly bothered by it. Semirena then introduces herself properly, explaining that her mission is to carry the light of the goddess to everyone, and that she considers it an honor to work alongside the hero chosen by the goddess. Suji notices something about her that sends a strange chill through him, and he is not entirely sure what to make of it. Erika closes it all out by reminding everyone that they depart the very next day and that nobody should forget it. Suji looks between Arca and Semirena, and the whole situation sinks in. The journey is actually happening. The group sets off from the castle gates the next morning. Erika says goodbye to her father, and the king tells her to be careful no matter what. He then turns to Suji, takes his hand, and entrusts his daughter to his care while also asking him to save the kingdom and all of humanity. Suji is overwhelmed on the inside but holds it together and promises that he will defeat the demon lord. The king tells him that those words bring him genuine comfort, and with that the carriage rolls out. Once they are moving and the castle is behind them, Suji lets out a long breath. It is the first time in his life that many people have seen him off for anything. Erika tells him to get used to it because from this point forward attention is going to follow him everywhere they go. Then she leans in quietly and reminds him that if their two party members ever find out he is a fake, the consequences would be catastrophic. Suji looks out at the surroundings and notices that everything around them seems completely calm and normal for a world that is supposedly at war with the demon lord. Erika explains that the kingdom of Etoile is the largest and most secure territory in the human world, far enough that the demon lord's army has not reached it yet. She points out that she did already cover this in his lessons. He insists he remembered. She follows that up by warning him not to get too comfortable, though, because monsters are scattered all across this world, regardless of how peaceful things look on the surface. Then she does something small but notable. She uses his name. Suji picks up on it and she explains that on a long journey, it makes sense for close companions to use each other's names naturally. Semirena immediately agrees and invites both of them to call her by her first name without any hesitation. Suji accepts and then figures that if they are doing that, he might as well call Erika by her name too. She responds with a look that says he should not push it, while clearly not actually saying no. Suji catches that look and quietly tells himself not to get too comfortable. Before that moment can settle, he suddenly gets that strange, chilling feeling again, the same one he felt when he first met Semirena. He tenses up slightly and Semirena notices immediately. She reaches over and places her hand on his chest, genuinely concerned that he might have caught a cold, and offers a prayer for his recovery. Suji reacts with pure embarrassment, because that is absolutely not what he meant. Arka is startled by the whole thing and jolts the reins of the carriage by accident. The sudden lurch throws everyone off balance, and Suji's hand lands directly on Erika's chest. She goes red immediately and shouts at him about where exactly he thinks he is putting his hands. He insists it was an accident. Before anyone can respond to that, Arka calls out an alert. Monsters have appeared out of nowhere, and the road ahead is completely blocked by a pack of gray wolves. The carriage is surrounded. Erika assesses the situation instantly and confirms there is no way around it. They have to fight. She grabs her weapon and acknowledges that she dislikes unnecessary conflict, but this is not optional. Suji agrees and they prepare. Semirena puts up a barrier around the carriage to protect it, while Erika directs Arka to handle the right flank and tells Suji to deal with the wolves on her side while she provides support for both of them. Suji is terrified, but reminds himself that he trained for exactly this kind of situation. He reasons that if he cannot handle a pack of wolves, he has no business going anywhere near the Demon Lord. One of the wolves charges straight at him and he cuts it down cleanly. The success lasts about 2 seconds before the rest of the pack coordinates and rushes him together, and he barely gets out of the way in time. Then one comes at him from behind, and Erika intercepts it with an icicle lance before it can reach him. She tells him sharply to keep his guard up and he apologizes. Arka is cutting through wolves on her end with complete ease and confirms shortly after that they are all down. Suji watches her and is genuinely impressed because she handles the sword like it weighs nothing, and her small frame gives absolutely no indication of how capable she actually is. Semirena checks on everyone, and Arka reports she is completely fine. Suji and Erika confirm the same. Then Semirena spots a small scrape on Arka's hand and immediately takes it gently, telling her not to push herself too hard. Suji watches that exchange and thinks that Semirena functions exactly the way a true party healer should, reliable and attentive without making a big deal out of it. Erika calls out that the whole group handled themselves well, and Suji and Arka share a high five to mark the win. But almost immediately, Suji gets that uneasy, chilling feeling again. Stronger this time. Erika and Arka both notice and check on him. Semirena suggests they head back to the carriage so she can make him something warm to drink and he can rest. He agrees and starts moving toward the carriage. Then a voice cuts through the air from above. It acknowledges that the information about the hero's party moving out was accurate. Everyone looks up and a massive figure descends in front of them, large and imposing, with a presence that instantly makes the air feel heavier. The figure introduces himself as Palpatos, one of the Demon Lord's 7 elites. The shock that hits the group is immediate. Erika thinks to herself that there is no logical reason for someone at that level to be this deep inside Etoile's territory, which is supposed to be completely out of reach for the Demon Lord's forces. Palpatos explains without being asked that he is there on the Demon Lord's orders to eliminate threats before they grow into problems. He adds that he wanted to see what kind of person this hero actually was, and makes it clear he is not impressed, pointing out that Suji could barely finish off a group of ordinary wolves. Suji's hands close into fists. He is furious, but not just at the insult. He is furious at the complete disregard for how any of this is supposed to work, because in his mind, even the Demon Lord should understand that a hero needs to build up gradually before facing something at this level. Throwing an elite commander at them right out of the gate is not how any of this should go. Arka does not share his patience. She decides immediately that elite or not, they are here to beat the Demon Lord, and this is just one step along the way, then charges straight at Palpatos. He catches her by the hand like it is nothing, comments on how light she is, and throws her aside with casual force. Suji rushes forward and catches her before she hits the ground and checks on her. She tells him she is fine, and that it takes more than that to put her down. Palpatos looks at her with curiosity and announces that he will keep hitting her until something actually breaks. The situation goes from difficult to genuinely dire in seconds. Palpatos declares that he is going to smash them apart and immediately zeroes in on Arka as his first target. She is already charging back at him before anyone can stop her. Suji grabs her from behind to hold her back, and right at that moment, Semirena steps in and physically stops both of them, while Erika shouts at everyone to get to her immediately. She activates a teleportation spell, and the entire group vanishes before Palpatos can close the gap. He watches them disappear and acknowledges with mild interest that it was a decent move. They reappear somewhere else entirely. Suji did not even know Erika could do that, and she explains that teleportation pulls an enormous amount of magical energy from her, which means she cannot use it repeatedly and can only travel to locations she has personally visited before. Suji acknowledges that none of that matters right now because it saved all of them. If they had kept fighting back there, the whole party would have been wiped out. He turns to Arka and tells her directly that charging in recklessly at someone at that level cannot happen again, and she concedes the point, even if reluctantly. Erica identifies the location as the nearest town to the kingdom, somewhere she visited once during an official inspection, which is why she was able to reach it. She also notes that losing the carriage is a real problem. Suji points out that being alive at all is the priority and suggests they head into town to figure out their next move. They step out and immediately something is wrong. People are running in every direction and smoke is rising from somewhere nearby. They rush toward it and Suji stops cold when he sees what is in front of him. Palpatos is already there, in the middle of the town, terrorizing the civilians and telling them that running is what gets them killed. Arka shouts his name and he turns to face the group with complete composure, pointing out that they were not the only ones who could teleport. Erica realizes they underestimated him entirely. The townspeople notice the hero has arrived, and the fear in their faces shifts into desperate hope. With people watching and counting on them, retreating is no longer a real option. Arka states immediately that they have to fight. Erica agrees and steadies herself. Semirena turns to the group with quiet intensity and asks everyone to lend her their strength, and warmth radiates from her as she channels it. Palpatos tells them to come at him and at least try to make it entertaining. The fight is brutal from the start. Within a single minute, the whole group is barely standing. The smoke spreading around them is making everything worse and their condition is deteriorating fast. Palpatos observes that they are still on their feet and acknowledges it, but points out with complete calm that they have no real chance of winning. Arka shouts back that winning is not the reason they are fighting because they have to. Palpatos raises one hand and explains that it does not matter how determined someone is because cutting off air ends everything. Hai grabs Semirena by the throat. She collapses in pain and he comments with something like satisfaction that she has not given up yet. Suji cannot move. His body is not responding the way he needs it to. He is furious at himself and keeps pushing internally, trying to force himself forward. He is not the real hero and he knows that. But he also knows that if he runs from this moment, then being a fake hero is not even the issue anymore because abandoning people in front of him would make him less than human. That thought is the line he refuses to cross. Then something responds to that. A voice comes from somewhere inside him and tells him clearly that his resolve has reached it. Suji is stunned. Palpatos moves to finish off Arka, and Erica shouts for him to stop. Then a slash cuts clean through Palpatos' arm and stops him entirely. Arka drops and catches herself while everyone freezes trying to understand what just happened. The voice that comes from Suji's direction is composed and deliberate, acknowledging Arka's stand as magnificent and telling the group to leave the rest to it. Suji is just as confused as everyone else because he is moving but not by his own will. Something inside him is in control and he has no idea what it is. He asks internally who is there and the presence responds that its name is not yet clear to it, but what it is remains certain. Palpatos interrupts furiously and demands to know what is happening. The presence controlling Suji moves again and takes Palpatos' other arm with another clean strike, then calmly points out that the scales are now balanced. Palpatos is done being composed. He regenerates both arms instantly, announces that losing limbs means nothing to him, and makes clear he can regrow them as many times as needed. Suji watches the regeneration happen, and the presence inside him recognizes it and draws a comparison to a serpent from an old tale. Palpatos closes in with full intent to kill. The presence notes internally to Suji that the bloodlust they are feeling is extraordinary, and that under normal circumstances, Suji's body could not even remain standing under that kind of pressure, but it is clearly finding it genuinely engaging. The presence then addresses Palpatos directly and tells him that if taking limbs is not enough, then the head is the next step. Palpatos lunges. The presence activates something it calls shallow reversal, a technique that carries a clear and practiced weight to it and removes Palpatos' head in a single motion. Even then, Palpatos remains conscious and speaks, enraged. The presence addresses the severed head without surprise and remarks that it is extraordinary for a creature to retain consciousness in that condition. Palpatos demands to know what it is dealing with. The presence answers simply that its name has not returned to it yet, but that it is a samurai. And with that, the situation becomes clear to everyone present, including Suji himself. What just appeared is not an outside force. It is a second personality living inside him, one that has now shown itself for the first time.
Here I am,